My history working with John Cassavetes started in 1958 on Shadows. And then it progressed 68 with Faces. Husbands came after Faces. Minnie and Moskowitz, Killing of a Chinese Bookie, Opening Night, Love Streams. Anyway, we made a bunch of films, 8 or 9 together. With Cassavetes and his films, we had a certain audience that was dedicated to seeing the films. It wasn't very large. And we were restricted to art house theaters. And even if we were successful, the next film was always something where we had to start all over again. His reputation was fine, but they had difficulty putting the money behind the projects. And he would invest his own money and get the crew to work for very low wages. And I remember going back to Faces, like no one got paid in front of the camera or behind the camera, ever, you know, until we got the picture making money. And then we paid everybody. And it was a kick because nobody knew anything, including me. So we got to learn the equipment and learn each other and went on from there. With Love Streams, I got a call from John, and we talked about the beginning of Love Streams, how he had talked to Canon, and they were interested in doing it, but that I had to then talk to Canon and set the deal and do all of that. Menahem Golan particularly, and Yoram Globus, really liked making films, genuinely. And they had been used to making a certain style of picture and, you know, low budget. And they wanted John, particularly, to do the picture because it was like a step up in the types of films that they had been making. They never interfered creatively at all. They wouldn't dare because they would have lost John in an instant. You had to commit to working with him even before you could see the story. I had learned from past experience that even when I'm given a script ahead of time and I read it, that it's in the doing, because inevitably the story was going to change. I mean, it was a living thing. What tempted me was John and the actors involved and just the ability to make the picture that I knew we'd have to make. And then 83, early 83, we ironed out all of the details, start putting the cast together. I remember Jon Voight was originally agreed to play the lead, and 2 days before we were going to start shooting, he called me and he said, I can't do it. When I told John, John said, well, I'll have to act it because there's no time to get anybody else. And he had not planned on being the actor in the film. And so that puts a certain amount of pressure on a person to come up to speed in 2 days, you know, to start a production, particularly one that centers in the beginning of the film, at least on that character.
Stop trying to organize me, okay?
I'm not trying to organize you.
We had extensive rehearsals before we started shooting, and he would rewrite, and the object of that was to get the actors to become the characters. And as a result of those rehearsals, he would do a lot of rewriting to suit the temperament, the attitudes, and even the changes in the ability to speak the lines to accommodate those people. So after a couple of weeks of that, they really became those characters. They owned them. And that was the point of that. But John was a guy who was all about discovery. He would push the actors in the sense that we would shoot many takes. And the actor, you know, somewhere along the line would figure, well, gee, maybe it's not going well. I should try to do something different. You know? And I mean, we had several times where we would shoot more than 50 takes on a certain scene.
Follow through.
And with 2 cameras. And with John, we shot 10-minute shots. I mean, until the film ran out.
Hey, put some of this in.
Where's the shot?
But it was a great experience for everybody, and particularly for the actors, because they learned that he wasn't going to cheat them, that he wasn't going to make them look bad, that they could trust him. And that develops over time because there's no shortcut to that. And so they would go beyond what they thought they could do.
Put the chalk on there. Now watch this. Watch.
Pull it out.
Okay? One.
It's all right.
Come on. You see?
Hey, there you go.
It was easy.
Give me that.
Now, in 30 seconds, you are going to be laughing helplessly, okay? You don't believe me, huh? You want to bet?
Gena Rowlands,
What do you bet?
particularly in Love Streams,
Oh, cheapskate.
exemplifies an actress that knows her profession. She's a brilliant actress, but more than that, she's a very intelligent actress and gets into her parts after a lot of soul searching and would not do something unless it agreed with her attitude towards the character. She once said to me that the object of an actor is you must find a way to defend the character.
Are you ready? Here it goes. All right. You think you're not gonna laugh?
And she was never difficult. But it's like she had to be convinced that the character was going in a certain direction for her. And she has ideas about what her character can do and what it can't do. And inevitably, she's correct. So there were some standoff issues between she and John, off camera, that they always worked out. When I made the deal with Canon for Love Streams, Menahem, Golan, and Yoram Globus were going to be the producers of record. And so they said, but we'd like you to take executive producer. And I operated as the production manager also. We had an Israeli camera crew. And after the first 2 days of shooting, John was ecstatic, loved it. After the third day, John came in and said, "You have to shoot this, Al." I said, "I'm not going to do it. I'm already doing enough that keeps me busy for 6 days a week." He said, "No, you've got to shoot the picture." I said, "Screw you, John. I'm not shooting it." Next thing I know, I'm talking to Menahem Golan, and he's saying, Al, please, Al, you have to shoot this." He says, "Give me 2 weeks. I'll find somebody to come in and do it." And I said, "No, I'm not doing it, Menahem. I already have a lot on my plate. Al, please, for me, you have to do this." So I shot it for the 2 weeks. Menahem showed up, and I said, "Who did you get?" He said, "Al, just keep going. I'll get somebody." I said, "Menahem, bullshit." I said, "I'll do the shooting." On Love Streams, for locations, we used John and Jena's house. And we had used that in just about every film that we did. Because when John was financing the majority of the budget, the house being his made it a simple location to do.
Please sit down. Thank you.
On Love Streams, as all the other films, there is no typical day of shooting. You'd come in early in the morning, find out what the first scene he wanted to shoot. He would ask, "How long is it going to take to light the scene? Get ready for the shot." And if I said 20 minutes, in 10 minutes he'd show up and say, "What the hell are we waiting for? God damn it. Actors want to act. They don't want to wait around," all that stuff. And I said, "John, I told you 20 minutes, that's what it's going to be, or if it's longer. It's not because I want to delay the production." With John, I never jumped ahead of him. Perhaps I had an idea where he wanted to go, but I really never let that enter my thoughts on any kind of determined thing for me to do. Because everything changes, it's a state of flux. And like I said, he was always trying to discover something in the characters that would excite him. And I must say, on all the films we did together, that was the way. Impossible to talk to him about anything. because he wouldn't tell you. I mean, I tried every way because I was really inexperienced. I came down to saying, I'm trying to accommodate you to try to make the camera disappear. So tell me the mood. Just do that for me. Tell me the mood of the scene that you would like to arrive at. You know, what's the emotion that's driving the sequence? And I could never get an answer, so I stopped asking those kinds of questions.
Are we ready? Now come on!
I remember we had rain. God, did we have rain. I mean, it was never enough. It was torrential. And we had the wind machines going. When it was like a tornado. Now, when I shot that film, I had water running up my sleeves. And it was really unbelievable. I said, John, enough? And like he had told me before, he would always say, never enough, never enough. More rain, more water, more wind, and lightning. Let me add lightning, too. It was wonderful. And as a result, I only thought about the particular scene that we were shooting at the time we were shooting it. And I thought of everything in terms of mood, the emotional content of the sequence. And always in the back of my head, I always thought about music. Every scene has its own rhythm. And within that rhythm, particularly if you're doing handheld, of where the shot is continuous and you're going from one character and panning to the other character, I try to, in my own mind, have a rhythm going in my head so that it would keep it more fluid and just emphasize whatever the scene was.
Love is a fantasy little girls have.
Okay, I'm tired. I just want to be by myself.
Yo, how old is she? 13? I mean, is she 13 years old?
It was about spontaneity. He wanted everybody to bring something to the set, and that included the people behind the camera and those in front of it. You know, so it was a fun time, a frustrating time, an angry time, all of those things together. You know, but it makes it exciting to come to work. Love Streams, as far as challenges to making it are concerned, was really no different than any of the other pictures.
Robert, how are you?
We never had enough money to start with. But we had many locations and a lot that we had to finagle to get, you know, faking airport lobbies and using crew members. I remember the still photographer, Francois Duhamel, and he wound up playing a porter in a scene with Gena.
Excuse me, but I'm American and I must have your help. I can't do it. Please, come with me. I have all of this luggage and please, I'll give you...
So we pressed everybody into service. We had John's mother-in-law in the pictures. We had John's mother, even his father at times, and certainly Gena's brother, David. Everyone I can think of that he knew wound up being in the pictures. Where I acted in the film, and John got behind the camera, was in the offices of the lawyers.
I represent Mrs. Lawson. Have you two met?
Yes. Yes.
Are you comfortable there?
Oh, yes, sure.
And I represented Gena, and another actor represented Seymour.
Hello.
But I really think it was an excuse for John to get behind the camera. I always believed that was the case. If there's one thing that stands out for John, his dedication, he completed what he started. He was so committed to what he was doing that he begged, borrow, steal, get money, do whatever was necessary to finish the project. John would mortgage his home to get some money to put towards the budget. And I just would have to remind people that it was both John and Gena who assumed those risks. You don't run into people like that too often, you know, who are willing to put everything up to risk. With Cassavetes' illness, which wasn't apparent to me at first, and I must say I might have been blind to that, but when we started Love Stream, I never thought about that at all. But obviously he had been suffering from cirrhosis of the liver. but it was unknown to me, and he never said, I'm not feeling well, or, you know, I got to take it easy or anything like that. And we just move along. So how he dealt with it himself, like everything else, he kept it to himself. Was he happy? Listen, it's the dream of every creative artist to work on a film and to keep working on it over and over and over again, because you're never satisfied. There's always something you want to change or you want to develop.
I mean, this looks like somebody died and went through.
I can only tell you that he wouldn't have put it out unless he liked what he had. He would not cheat himself in order to satisfy the demands of other people. With Love Streams, it didn't get much circulation. Canon was going through some difficult times in their corporate structure. They couldn't afford or wouldn't afford the kind of publicity that you need for a picture, particularly for Jon's pictures. You got to make the audience want to come to see the film. I mean, major studios do it in different ways, but with us, we had always relied on word of mouth. And that worked fine. But with Canon, you had to do more than that because we were overcoming their own reputation. And they couldn't afford it. They wouldn't do it. So the picture died a kind of unnatural death. I spent a lot of time with him, maybe 28 years in total. But I can't say I really know him. I just know that he affected a lot of people, particularly those that worked on the films. Jon made it possible for me to change my life, which was great. I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing had I not taken this path. Jon had called me, it was 2 weeks before he died, and we talked about a lot of things, and he thanked me for a lot of things that he never said before. It made me feel bad, you know. And he said, but Al, promise me. He says, when I'm gone, and they want to do interviews about what I am, he says, you got to tell them, go see the pictures.